And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Between the Posts. I'm your host, Tommy Javor, and I'm joined this week by our Division 2 expert. Welcome to the show, Matty Gale.
Thanks for having me, Tommy. It's going to be a magnificent show. I'm looking forward to discussing plenty of footy this afternoon.
Yes, mate. Let's talk about you a little bit, mate, because you are a star, former AFL Asia employee, our Div 2 expert, commentating Div 1 games, and your beautiful family in the studio audience. It always makes me happy to see that. But where were you yesterday, my friend?
I was at the Painter Mogul yesterday, and
yes, you were.
I loved catching up and watching those two newly promoted Division 2 teams. It was an absolute rip snorter of a game. Very close for three quarters. We'll talk more about that last quarter a little bit later on.
Yeah, of course. You're a very fond Golden Grove man, and you helped, they were your Div 2 romper stompers last year, taking all before them. But my boys, the Falcons, just watch out for them, mate. They're there and thereabouts. We'll talk about them in Division 1, as you said, mate. Now, there is a ton of stuff to get through today. Of course, you're doing your specialist report. I'll be doing the Division 1 men's report. The beautiful Beck Northcott will be doing the Division 1 women's report. She's fantastic, and you'll see her in a photo later on. The happiest Archie's presentation I've ever seen post-game. She's a star, isn't she?
She certainly is. Love commentating with her and looking forward to catch up with her in a few rounds' time to collaborate again.
We love our sponsors. Speaking of which, I cannot say enough about these thongs, and not just because I just took a new pair. Archie's, it is like you're not wearing anything at all, wearing nothing at all. Now, you've got a pair, haven't you, mate?
I actually put it down to wearing them and getting a massage at the same time.
Light as a feather, you can't go wrong. The foot support means you don't bend your toes. And I can tell you right now, without a word of a lie, and Matt will vouch for me here, I will not put other shoes on unless you are paying me to do a job. I'll put big boy shoes on. I only wear Archies. And what is on my feet, mate?
A pair of Archies and an alleged suntan from the Archies.
I have an Archies thong tan now, and I'm proud of it. I'm an Australian, and I love my Archies, so thanks for your sponsorship. Speaking of great sponsors, we'll be looking at our Farmers Elite Coach of the Week. Tony Neal takes care of that each week. There's a cracker this week. Of course, mate, everyone's favourite part of footy, the goals and marks of the week. Should be some beauties.
There will be some rippers. There was a couple of potential Bianco marks of the week yesterday down there at Painter Mogul.
No worries, of course. Also, we'll have a look at what caught our eye in some of next week's games. But to all of you 270 teams in the Adelaide Footy League, round one is run and done. One and done in many cases. It's been a great round. We love looking at the results, and we'll be back with more Between the Posts after these sponsorship messages.
9 News, teaming up with the Adelaide Footy League. Tom Wren on the ground at your club for Thursday Night Live, strengthening communities through footy.
Welcome back to Between the Posts. It's Division 1 wrap time. It's great to be back for another season. And as always, just like last year, we'll start at the Stream Team game. Well done to Phil Hurden and Adam Jeffries, a great job. It was Sacred Heart and Tea Tree Gully, a replay of last year's semi-final where Tea Tree Gully ended shock season, but the result was reversed this round. It was Sacred Heart 8-9-57, Tea Tree Gully 4-11-35. Once again, we've got our player in focus, and it's number 7, Tom McDermott from Sacred Heart. Having a look at some of Tom's vision. He had 20 disposals, 16 kicks, 4 handballs. He went at 80%, so nice efficiency there. Took 7 marks and also 6 inside 50s, was a real catalyst in driving the ball into the forward line. It was a 22-point win for Shock. Let's have a look at some of the goal kickers, and it was Tristan Kokoro with 2, McAuliffe and Darcy Lacornu with 2. Of course, they didn't have Tristan in the finals last year, which hurt them, and Darcy returning from injury, so they've both had an impact. For the Gullies, Latham was the only multiple goal scorer with 2. Let's have a look at some of the Dartfish stats and analytics, of course. So what stood out to me was Sacred Heart, 16 more disposals, but 26 more marks. They still play a possession game where they like to mark the ball, and they do tend to kick more than handball. A 2-to-1 kick to handball ratio. They don't just fire it out with handball. They look to march it down the ground with their kicks, take ground position, and they do that very well. They also had 21 more tackles, so when they don't have the ball, they really hunt hard. They're a young, fierce, ferocious team, very well coached by Alex Galotto. It's a stream team game, so you know what that means. There are a bunch of awards to give out. We've got some great photos to overlay with these awards. Now, there's no TJ award this year because I'm not there for the stream team match of the round, but we are going to start with the Moseley Voucher Best Team Player, and that was Sean Tapp. Old Tappy, the old Tapperoo. He is now the key defensive pillar down at Sacred Heart, and he'll be crucial because last year the two best defenders in the league were Sam Wunke from Glenunga and Chris Curran from PAC. Now, I say that based on the fact we picked Team of the Year. I had 9 selectors supporting me, and we all agreed on that one. But Tappy now could well become the most important defender in Division 1. The Magic Moments Neomorph Mouthguard Player of the Day, it was selected by Phil, I believe, was Ned Brooks for his goal. A fantastic goal there to Ned, well done. The Best On Ground New Balance Voucher, Archie's Thongs and Dartfish Beanie. That's right, he's got a whole host of prizes, and that went to Tom McDermott. So well done, Tom. I think Tom, I'm not sure if he's the nephew or the son of the great Bones, the inaugural Crows captain, Chris McDermott, but he's definitely one of them because one day Chris McDermott stood behind me and cheered for him all day. So clearly related. Excuse me. The Roll the Dice Player of the Year, of course, we love the Roll the Dice Player of the Year. 5% ownership of a racehorse to the person with the most votes. Abe Davis, successful in 2023. It was 1 vote to the coach, Alex Collotto. Surprisingly, they've actually given 2 votes to Tom McDermott, and they've given the Best on Ground to Sean Tapp. So both of those guys really, really good. And on to our next game. It was St. Peter's and PAC at Caterer. St. Peter's 11-10-76, PAC 14-9-93. A 17-point win to the Reds. Their coach stepped up, and he'll be our player in footage focus. He was number 4, Craig Pitt, playing a very good game indeed. For PAC, it was the Juice, Jaden Davis with 3 goals, and Tom Brinsley also chimed in with 3. For Spock, the leading goal scorer was Johnny Reid with 4. Let's have a look at our Roll the Dice Player of the Year votes, and it was Riley Davis, 1 vote from PAC. Now, I think Riley might be the brother of Juice, the younger brother, so good to see the Davis boys both doing good things. Of course, Jaden is a top-up player for the Crows, so when they've got him, he's going to be very handy. 2 votes to Johnny Reid, as I mentioned, 4 goals to Spock. He was their best forward and had a tremendous day. And our best on ground, Craig Pitt. The commentators' feedback and final comments about the game. Spock were actually leading in the second quarter. It looks like a very much improved Spock this year. They'll be competitive. A Ty Bedford injury hurt them. Ben McGill, Charlie Allen and Geordie, Chuck Norris, Lockwood were all very good in the game. Spock had a stiff, but it was PAC's ability to control the tempo of the game, whether it's slow play or fast play, change lanes, it was just outstanding. Clark, the skipper Lockie McNamara, and of course Craig Pitt were all able to assert their influence on the game when required. And cometh the man in the final quarter, a Juice Jaden Davis dribbler was the one that broke the back of PAC, so they got the win in round 1 by 17 points over their collegiate brothers. Okay, let's get on to our next game at Brighton. It was Brighton taking on Glenunga. Of course, who can forget last year in round 1, it was Glenunga by 16 goals. I actually spoke to Nathan Grimer this week and I said this Brighton team's at least 12 goals better on paper, and that's exactly the way it turned out. It was Brighton 4-11-35, the Rams 10-8-68. Our player in footage is going to be number 28, the Big Bear, Abe Davis. I hope he's still got that giant mop of hair. He is a beast in the clinches, and he'll be showing you some great highlights there. It's hard not to reflect on the score though, Brighton 4-11, because I mentioned it in the pre-season show. Brighton's Achilles heel is they are the most inaccurate team in Division 1 with just a 46% conversion rate in 2023. They needed to tidy it up, and they didn't, and it's cost them, despite having nearly as many scoring shots. The leading goal kickers for the Rams was Michael McMahon with 3 and Abe Davis with 2. The commentators put this one down to the second quarter. It was the second quarter, 4 goals to 2 points. That ended up being pretty much the margin at the end of the game. Transition goals or goals from turnover, 5. So 5 of their 10 goals were from Brighton turnovers. Nothing unusual here. It was congested, it was scrappy, and conditions were difficult, and Glenunga thrived in that. For Brighton, Osborne, as always, he was very, very good. And Glenunga with 11 players, that's 11 players out of last year's grand final team, find a way to reinvent themselves. New soldiers step up, and they would still be very, very good this year, as we anticipated. The votes for the Roll the Dice Player of the Year, 1 vote for Brighton, Jarman Segal. He's a really exciting footballer with a real beautiful vertical leap on him. Always provides some highlights. Michael McMahon, the best forward of the day for Glenunga, and as mentioned, Abe Davis. On to our next game. It was Broadview versus Port. Two teams I've tipped to be right up the top. We expect Port District to play someone in the grand final, and I've actually said I think it could be Broadview. The new Broadview Oval, the first day at the $9 million facilities, and it didn't quite go according to plan. It was Broadview 6-6-42, Port District 15-5-95, a 53-point thumping of the Tigers. The player in footage for Port isn't one of those new big-name recruits, but it's my old favourite player, number 25, the Gaffer, Cooper Gaffney, the left-footed architect. He is a smooth operator off half-back given time and space, and he will be deadly this year. Looking at the goal kickers, it was Kobe Russell with 3 for the Tigers, whilst Harry Dwyer kicked 3 for Port. Pleasing for Port was 11 different goal scorers. The load is being spread and some of those big names chipping in as well. Port led by 19 points, 35 and 60 points at the final change to win by 53, so it looks like they controlled the game quite well. Their centre clearance work of Lysette and Sam Gray, that's 2 Port Power AFL footballers with synergy and understanding. They really did win the clearances and take control of the game. Gaffney and Haynes, their run and ball use was outstanding. Joey Haynes with that ability to kick the ball 60 metres lace out, and Gaff, he's so good at changing the lanes and being the one to take the 45 kick. Broadies had a couple of send-offs which certainly didn't help them. They will be better for the run. Jackson, Ryan and Smith all had a fair dinkum crack. Again, they've got quite a few players who are top-ups, and some of those were missing. I think it certainly affected their midfield rotations and strength. Not quite good enough to match it with Port in round 1. Best players all came from Port. I've touched on them all already. Joey Haynes, Harry Dwyer with 3 goals, and the Gaffer. For our last game of the round, I've got a very special treat. Why should I just do all the talking when the expert was at the game? Let's bring in Matty Gale. And how about that for a magic trick just like that? Commentator extraordinaire Matty Gale, welcome to the Division 1 report.
Yeah, brilliant to be back for Between the Posts. Very good to join you again, Tommy. Thank you.
No worries, mate. Now, I normally do this alone, so you should feel very special. But we're up to the game you were at. I'll just skim through a few of my vital statistics, if I may. In a huge upset, a replay of last year's grand final where Payneham only kicked 1 goal and they nearly burnt the bloody grandstand down. Tommy Turek and his band of past players went cocoa bananas, but it was PNU 17-10-1-12, 42-point winners over Golden Grove 10-10-70. Our player in focus on footage is that man, possibly recruit of the year, number 15, Matty Nunn from PNU. He was outstanding. Tell us a bit about his game, please, Matty.
He was a prolific ball getter throughout the game, had a truckload of the pill, and his working close was actually tremendous. Getting out of that, what I'd say, a telephone box on a number of occasions, and he scraped and he clawed and he kept him in the game. There's a lot of ebbs and flows in that game. Kicked 2 goals resting 4, which were really pivotal in the outcome in the end. Yep.
Jeremy Cheney was good enough to have a chat with me this morning, and obviously some of my mates from PNU have let me know a few things, but we'll stick to the stats at this stage, and then we'll talk about some of the other stuff. Harry Viney kicked 5 for PNU. I think 3 of those might have been in that 9-goal last quarter run.
He certainly did, yeah. He was dominant. He was actually very threatening the whole game. Played a lot more up the field in the first half, played closer to home when it mattered.
Yep. What was really pleasing though, 9 goal kickers and all the midfield, we're talking Giannini, Nunn, they all kicked 2 goals each. So really, they really did brain what has been considered the best midfield in the Adelaide Footy League for a long time in Golden Grove. They brained them, but Div 1's a very different prospect. Now, the Roll of the Dice Player of the Year award, which is a fantastic award. Of course, you gave the votes. 1 vote to Anthony Giannini, a really good game.
Yeah, he was tremendous. We could have shared this across about 7 or 8 players. So, yeah, he was a standout, particularly for quarter effort.
Yep, you gave, I think he played off half back, but you can tell me more. Brad McKenzie, the architect.
Yeah, I did call him the architect. He was tremendous, whether it was kicking out or getting that pull, more of a quarterback sort of role, architect, setting up the play. Jed Spence was pretty unlucky not to make the votes. He was named
2 goals as well.
Yeah, and I think he started down back and he just ran through the midfield. His second half was superb. He just got the ball at will.
And the big ruckman as well. I mean, Matty Nunn was best going round. We've talked about him already. You've seen some footage. The big ruckman, the recruit from Anglevale as well, gave them first use as well, I'm told.
Yeah, Tommy Kelly was tremendous. He kicked back-to-back goals just before half-time. It might have been in the third quarter, but yeah, he was tremendous. He probably got beaten in the hit-out department, but his work around the ground and ability to kick those 2 goals. Not many ruckmen will go ahead and kick 2 goals in a game, so that's a tremendous fortune and a really top quality recruit.
And it was Golden Grove at the breaks, leading by 13, 9 at the half, 7 at lemon time, but a 9-goal 3 to 1 goal 2 last quarter to the Falcons. Got the chocolates. Some of the commentators' feedback, which is obviously from Matty. Cam Shenton battled hard. The man they call the Sex Panther down back. He's a great captain. He's resilient, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He doesn't get beaten 1-1. He's the Rock of Gibraltar back there, and he was tremendous.
Yeah, of course. Formerly, it was played for St Kilda and Nord and the Fina Gaelic football team for those that need something to update their stiff shizzle list. Mackenzie down back and Pittman very good for Golden Grove also.
Yeah, he did. He collected a lot of it. Just hearing from a couple of the insiders from Golden Grove, he looks even fitter than he was last season. Knows in the know. He's a 5-time best and fairest Div 2 medalist last season, so he can go. And Josh Glenn sort of drifted out of the game. He was pretty good for a fair chunk of that game as well. Yeah,
and the other thing that was pointed out to me, it's actually really important. Their B grade is just they're monsters. They've been near untouchable for 5 years, so they've got depth. If one soldier goes down, another one comes up pretty well. So Golden Grove will bounce back, but well done to the Falcons, bragging rights for a week anyway, and certainly well coached by Jeremy Cheney. We're going to have a quick look. Now, normally I deep dive into this, I do the Andrew Gaze, but the ladder's pretty pure and simple. If we could just get the ladder up for us, thanks very much. If you're in the top half, you won. If you're in the bottom half, you lost. The more you won by, the higher you are. It's not rocket science, is it?
No, not early doors of the season.
No. Port Glenunga, the Phil Herden tip for the grand final. Interesting to see them 1 and 2 already. Plenty to play out still, but gee, it's hard not to be impressed. Port, the list looks good on paper, and they've delivered in round 1.
Yeah, they certainly did. Big expectations on Port Districts this year, and Glenunga, after making the granny last year, they'll be up there and amongst it as well.
Yep. Roll the dice player of the year. We're not going to run the graphic for a few weeks yet. Obviously, being 1 round in, 5 players have 3 votes. Obviously, we have to note last year's winner, Abe Davis, and that horse is going all right, just quietly, has started with the best on ground, 3 votes, looking to defend his title.
5% of a racehorse. He might have 5% in another racehorse by the end of the year. He had a tremendous year last year. Big Buffalo. Yeah,
and the old Glenunga Oval certainly doesn't hurt the way he plays in close and tight. Let's have a look at this week's games, mate, and there's some beauties. As I just believe anyone can win on any given day in Division 1. Whilst there's some standout teams. If you're not on, you can get done. First up, it's Tea Tree Gully versus Port District at Pertaringa.
Yeah, Tea Tree Gully a little bit disappointing yesterday, and I think they'll come up against Port Districts at home. I think it's probably more of the 39 points plus division bracket that we're looking at for Port Districts next Saturday against Tea Tree Gully. Yeah, the wide open expanses of Pertaringa are probably only going to suit the class of Port. I won't be tipping against Port until further notice. So it's as simple as that. This one here is going to be tight, tough and tense. So I think it is going to be very hard to tip because they've both had good round 1s. It's Sacred Heart and PNU at Sacred Heart. Yeah, Sacred Heart, I suspect they're going to be probably around the mark and in that top 3 sort of region, and I think they'll win at home. PNU will go with plenty of confidence after yesterday's win against Golden Grey, but I just think Sacred Heart had that extra year up on their sleeve in Division 1 company, and I think they'll win under 15. Yeah, I'm tipping Sacred Heart as well. Heart says Payneham, head says Sacred Heart at home. Glenunga and Broadies at Webb Oval. This one for me is the old, they made a little montage of me saying harder to pick than a broken nose last year because I used it a bit, but how do you pick this? Glenunga and Broadview being at Webb Oval, I'm going to go Glenunga. They'll only score 9 or 10 goals, but they'll just get the chocolates. Yeah, I suspect it might have a little bit more of a margin there. I think Glenunga will win by plenty. Wow. I've got a lot of optimism for Broadview, but they're yet to show up. PAC and Brighton, I think the rumours of doom may have come a bit early for PAC because they were real good, closed out the game nicely. I've got them taking care of Brighton at Park 9. Yeah, I'm the same. I think PAC will deliver 2 from 2 on the trot. And our stream team game of the round, that's right, Phil Hurd and Adam Jeffries and the team out there. Make sure you check it out. It's Golden Grove. The Kookaburras are at the Nest at Harpers Field.
They'll be visited by Spock, who was super impressive, right in it with PAC till the end, but the Kookaburras will open their account for mine.
Yeah, same. I think Golden Grove will bounce back, but it'll be in the second half, and they'll try and break open that game in the Premiership quarter.
Yeah, they're going to cop an angry Golden Grove, poor Spockos. But this has been the Division 1 report. Thanks for joining me, Matt Gale.
Loved it.
We'll be back after these messages.
Northcote, and this is the Adelaide Footy League Division 1 Women's Wrap. And how exciting is it to see footy back for season 2024? It feels like footy only just finished, but it's so exciting to have it back again. Now, Division 1 this year for the women's, we've got 7 teams, so we've had 3 games this weekend and 1 team with the bye. Now, with the women's, it probably takes about 4 or 5 rounds to really get a feel for the teams and maybe who will be looking good this season. And that can be for a variety of reasons. You've got, new coaches, new teams coming up. The Samford W Development League is still going next week as well, so the teams will get players back from the Sandford level as well, and we'll all just adjust and we'll see what happens there. The first game we're going to look at for this week is Smosh Westlakes and the Henley Sharks. Now, Smosh 3-5-23 were defeated by the Sharks 11-16-82 at Eastern Park Reserve. So that's a 53-point win to the Henley Sharks. Real solid start to the season for them. Their second season in Division 1 after making finals in their first season last year. So good to see them sort of pick up where they left off and carry on, and maybe we'll see them back in the finals again this year. Now, for the Henley Sharks, if we have a quick look at the scoreboard here, Tamsin Fegert had 3 goals. Good day out for her. Lara Shihadi with 2, and singles to Imogen Dunbar, Tegan Dunbar, Adelaide Fixter, Kaylee May, Rebecca Rayner and Stephanie Rayner. And you can see by that there was a lot of sharing it around in the forward line, a real team performance by the Henley Sharks, and they've obviously got a lot of options they can go to in the forward line there. For Smosh, the single goal scorers were Astrid Gooley, Danielle Higgs and Talia Kitchen, and Nicole Lane was named as the best on for Smosh by the coaches. And in the Henley side, the best on was Adelaide Fixter. So Henley with a strong one there, and we look forward to seeing how they go in the next few rounds, and Smosh maybe with a few things to work on, but of course it's only round 1. In Game 2, it was the big grand final rematch between Morphettville Park and Payneham, and there was a huge turnaround in terms of the result in the grand final to what happened in round 1. Just 7 months ago, Payneham lost the grand final to Morphettville by 1 point. Well, Payneham came out of the blocks this week because they scored 14-13-97 to defeat Morphy's 6 straight 36. A huge 61-point win, and at Morphy's home ground. So, Payneham have really taken it up to Morphy's. They've hopefully brushed aside all of those grand final demons and really just come up to play. Maybe they've used that energy they felt after that loss to just really come out firing. Now, these 2 teams will meet again in round 8, and I would expect quite different lineups from both sides, as they will have strong contingents from the Sandford W to hopefully return to their team. So it will be interesting to see what happens the next time they meet, but Payneham easily taking the points here for round 1. Goal kickers, Abby Claby and Chloe Peterson, both with bags of 3. They'll be happy with that. Layla Khalifa and Jamie Lockwood, both with 2, and singles to Sally Arnold, Stephanie Gibson, Saskia Jonats and Caitlin Manning. Abby Claby was judged best of field for Payneham in their win. And there's nothing better than starting the season off with a massive win. So I'm sure Payneham will take a lot of energy out of that going into the rest of the season. In terms of Morphettville Park, the scoreboard read as Elizabeth Probyn Shingles with 2 goals, as well as Caitlin Swanson with 2, singles to Kelly Bulchaka and Bonnie Felsberg. Now, Bonnie Felsberg also got the best on votes from the coaches. She's come over from Gazer this year to Morphettville Park, so it'll be interesting to see if she continues her strong form, and maybe that's just a real masterstroke there from Tammy Scott getting her across from Gazer. In terms of the season, well, Morphies will obviously be disappointed with the loss, but we say it time and time again, you can never write them off in terms of the women's competition. They're always up there, and they've probably got some new recruits and just sorting everything out for this season, and they will obviously be a contender for this year. In the final game of the round in Division 1, Goodwood Saints have absolutely made their mark on Division 1 footy with a win in their first game. After what could only be described as a dominant rise up the ranks through the divisions of Adelaide Footy League women's footy, where they've just won flags, they've been dominant, they've finally arrived here in Division 1, and it looks like they're here to stay if this round 1 performance is anything to go on. Goodwood Saints 9-3-57 defeated Broadview 1-2-8. A big 49-point win, and what a way to make a statement in Division 1. Take a trip up to Broadview, and Broadview's no easy beat. They finished top of the ladder last season. Whilst they didn't quite go where they wanted to in finals, they were a strong performer all season, and boy did they really just go up there and kick off their season. They hit 4 goals straight in the first quarter and kept Broadview scoreless, so I'm not sure what Goodwood did up there for their pre-season, but my goodness, it has more than worked. For the Saints, Alina Seagate and Emma White kicked 3 goals each, so well done to them. Welcome to Div 1, girls. Single goals to Madeline Griffiths, Olivia McAvoy and Natasha Perrott, with Madeline Griffiths given the top votes by the coaches. Although a rough day at the office on the scoreboard for Broadview, there was plenty to celebrate up there as they unveiled their brand new community and sports hub facility at Broadview, which is looking incredible. They had a full day of senior men's and women's footy at the club to celebrate this new building. It's so great to see these new clubs being able to get these new facilities and grants and things so they can have these much better, change rooms, club rooms, all sorts of things, so they can welcome everyone to the club and continue growing their clubs in both women's and men's side of footy. Now, Golden Grove were the unlucky team with having the bye in round 1. It's always tricky to have the bye in round 1, but they'll be ready to go for round 2, and we look forward to seeing them in their first Division 1 game next weekend. They will take on the Inform Payneham next weekend for round 2, and this might turn out to be a tough trip for some teams going up to Payneham and playing against them, but I think Golden Grove will absolutely throw everything at it their first game in Division 1, and why not have an absolute crack? In other games to come in round 2 next weekend, Smosh will host the Goodwood Saints, where the Saints will be looking to continue their hot start in Division 1, looking to go 2-0. Smosh will be wanting to reclaim some form after their round 1 loss. Henley and Morphettville Park will clash at Shark Park, and this is one that I'm looking forward to. Henley lost to Morphettville in the elimination final in 2023, so we'll definitely be looking to improve on that performance. Based on how Henley looked in round 1, I think they are definitely a chance to take it up to Morphettville Park. But then again, we always say Morphies are always there ready to fire, and it would be hard to see them losing 2 weeks in a row. So we'll keep an eye on all of those results. And as I said, it does take a few weeks in the Division 1 women's for everyone to settle in, sort out their lineups and work out where everyone's going. But while everyone is adjusting to footy being back, it will be those teams that can get the points early in the season that will have the advantage come towards the end of the year. But one of the reasons why we love women's footy is it can be unpredictable and you never know what's going to happen. Now, make sure you go out and check out some women's footy if you've got a club near you. Go and have a look. There's some really great footy being played at local level, and especially in Division 1, you can see some of the future future stars of SANFLW, AFLW coming through the ranks, some really good juniors coming through as well with really great skills. So make sure you get out, have a look at a game and catch up with us next week to see how everyone went in round 2.
Do you belong in a role that drives you? In a community that makes you proud? In a team that brings out your best? You belong in blue. Apply for a career with South Australia Police.
And welcome back. It's time for our Farmers Leap Coach of the Week. Of course, just for those of you not familiar, the Coach of the Week can come from any division, all of the 7 divisions, but this week it comes from Division 1. It isn't selected by me, it was selected by Adam Jeffries, who is of course our great sponsor and partner, part of Farmers Leap, wonderful Farmers Leap wine. And the Coach of the Week this week is from the Payneham Norwood Union Falcons. It's Jeremy Cheney, a pretty good choice I think, a 16-goal turnaround. After his team scored only 1 goal in last year's Division 2 Grand Final, bringing Payneham back up in Division 1. Nobody tipped them. Everyone thought Golden Grove would have their way with them, but they managed to go from kicking 1 goal to kicking 17 on the weekend and 9 in the last quarter. They had a big pre-season. Jeremy's worked very hard and planned, got his midfield matchups right, and we congratulate him. He is a worthy winner. So well done to Cheens. Tony Neal will be doing a follow-up segment on this later this week, so you can check that out on all of our socials. But well done to Cheens, and good luck to all the coaches out there. We'd love to see you become our Farmers Leap Coach of the Week. And welcome back to Between the Post. A bit of a privilege to be here. I'm going to be invited to sit in on the Division 2 expert report. So that's enough of my chitty chatty blah blah. The man with all the Div 2 knowledge is Matt Gale.
Thanks for joining me, Tommy. The Division 2 Breakthrough Mental Health Football League here for Adelaide Footy League was tremendous in round 1. Lots of close games. Let's get into it straight away. Salisbury North 10-9-69 defeated Ross Trevor Old Collegians 7-14-56. Some inaccurate goal kicker from Ross Trevor probably cost them in after jumping the gun and getting out to a quarter-time lead. Whereas Salisbury North were up by 4 points only at three-quarter time, and in the end that was a 15-point lead to the home side. Trav McIntyre, best for Salisbury North, and Finn Wakeland, best for Ross Trevor Old Collegians.
Yeah, you won't see him name himself for the best players ever, because that's the kind of humility he has. But Luke Harble, the new coach at Salisbury North, has them humming. They're only playing with 11 points as well, so they're not capping out their points. They've got some points up their sleeve. I've tipped them to make the grand final, mate, and that is a strong start against quality opposition.
Big statement, Tommy Javor. Probably the only real blowout this weekend was the Adelaide University and Flinders Park game. I went into this game tipping Flinders Park with a bit of authority, but unfortunately it was completely the opposite, with Adelaide and the Uni doubling the score, 14-6-90 to Flinders Park 6-9-45, one-way traffic. And they, throughout the game, Flinders Park adding 4 goals in dead time in the last quarter to add a little bit of respectability to the scoreboard. Mitchell Marini done the dishes for Adelaide University, and James Swartz was best for Flinders Park.
Yeah, certainly neither of those teams were mentioned amongst the top 3, but I was surprised as well, Matt, to see Adelaide Uni with such an authoritative start, and maybe we have underestimated them this year.
We certainly have. Old Ignatians back in Division 2 company for the first time for a number of years, coming up a really strong Atherstone outfit. This was my pick of the clashes in Division 2 Breakthrough Mental Health this weekend. Very close encounter all the way, with Atherstone kicking 4 goals in the premiership third quarter to break the game open. Liam Duffield best for the Raggies, and Darcy McDonald best for the Old Iggies. Just one thing for you, James Kennedy, full-back of the century there down there at Old Ignatians, who'll be playing his final game, reached the 200-game milestone on the weekend, and he's going into a business venture, so he will no longer be playing for Old Iggies.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a sad moment, but I think they'll find themselves in some really similar company this year and expect Old Iggies to make a fist of it throughout the season.
Yeah, look, they had the worst Division 1 year in recent history and maybe even long term. It's great to see them competitive against a team I've got finishing up at the top end of the table. Good for Old Iggies, and they can just start getting a win on the board early in the year. It can change the whole dynamic of the season.
Certainly can. Foss Camden at home against Modbury. Foss Camden going down 9-5-59 to the Modbury outfit 11-10-76. And it's fantastic to see Modbury open their Division 2 account with a 17-point win away. Many would have tipped against them, which is fair enough because Foss Camden were a top 5 team last season, bombing out in the preliminary final to make the Div 2 grand final. Aaron Stewart starred for Modbury, and captain Henry Papatolis, best for Foss Camden. They'll be a little bit disappointed to lose at home in round 1.
Yeah, Modbury are very, very good in Div 3 last year, and one thing Modbury have got is depth. I think their C grade might have gone undefeated. They certainly won the flag last year. Their B grade is strong. They've got a D grade. I expect the Hawks to certainly be around the mark this year.
I think they kicked 85 goals in between the 3 divisions the week that we headed out to the Modbury Footy Club, so a lot of strength right across the board and plenty of depth. Edwardstown come up against a Goodwood Saints powerhouse in round 1, and it was a very, very tight tussle for 3 quarters before the Goody Saints took over in the last quarter and took control of the match, kicking 4-4 when it mattered. Tommy Lynch, best for the Goody Saints, and Zach Chapman, best for the home side. Really great to see Edwardstown going toe-to-toe with a big contender this year, and I think they will make that top 5. We probably had them out of the top 5 early doors, but suspect Edwardstown will be there when the wits are crapping, and you'd suspect that Goodwood Saints will be right up the upper echelon of Breakthrough Mental Health Division 2 this year, Tommy Javor.
That's right. I think you're right, mate. Looking across the divisions, there was some lopsided divisions. Really nice, close, even games. I think a lot of people just assume Goodwood would waltz through this division, but I think they're going to have a lot of competitive games this year. It's no certainty in Division 2.
No, it won't be uncertainty, and there's going to be a lot of teams breathing down their neck. Join us in about a month's time for Breakthrough Mental Health Division 2 updates. Click on your teams, follow them on their Facebook page and Instagram, and thanks very much for joining us, Tommy Javor.
You are outstanding, Matty Gale. We'll be back after this sponsorship message. Thanks again for joining us, and most of you don't tune in for me, but this is the segment you do tune in for. It's time for our marks and goals of the week.
They've got the numbers now. What can they do? Jack Scott goes out wide. Oh, big leap! Oh, has he paid the mark? That is a huge hanger. Seagal again.
From the eastern wing, grab a kick inside 50, where Shock always seem to know where it's coming into. Kerish a clearance. It's kick to kick. Oh, there's a highlight. Flying high.
Nine News, teaming up with the Adelaide Footy League. Tom Wren on the ground at your club for Thursday Night Live, strengthening communities through footy.
Welcome back to Between the Posts. Look, Matty, like you, I'm an Adelaide Footy League tragic. I love it. Call me a nuffy if you want. And I love going through the results and skimming it. And just a little segment to have a quick look through the 7 divisions on what caught our eye, because there certainly was some interesting results on the weekend. And whilst it's only round 1, perhaps some of these divisions take shape earlier than we think. So we'll start down in Division 7. And for me, it was Para Hills, who I've tipped to win the flag this year. A 96-point win over Flinders Uni. They've stamped their authority right at the start of the year. What caught your eye in Division 7, mate?
Smithfield defeating Brahma Lodge by a point. These two teams were relegated to Division 7, so that was a huge plus for those two particular teams.
Yeah, and I think we thought maybe Brahma Lodge in that one. So well done to the Pamps, and big day celebrating. Div 6, I got quite a few things because it was interesting reading. Lutheran over Units by 93. Salisbury over Houghton by 139. But the talk of the internet was Eastern Park by 340 over Elizabeth. Chris Knapp kicked 22. Luke McCormack Smith kicked 10. And it was a tough day for Elizabeth.
Goals are plenty, 55, what was it?
55-12.
55-12, immaculate goal kicking, but disappointing for Elizabeth, and really need to get out and support your team. I have been beaten by 30-odd goals before and won a premiership 3 years later, so the tide can turn pretty quickly. Yeah, remiss of me not to say as well, Ingle Farm had their district cricket promos on Friday night. They got a lot of crossover between their footy and cricket. That was the MC, a very good one by my mind. Had a great night with all the Ingle Farm boys, and they've backed it up the next day. They had a couple on Friday. I tell you, the 28-point win over the Royals as they aim to go back-to-back, so good luck to the Farmers. In Division 5, speaking of teams coming up after a premiership, it's Greenacres who are looking for the three-peat, and they've started with a 67-point win over West Croydon. They look like they've found their niche straight away. Certainly have, and a side on the rise, so expect Greenacres to be around the mark again this year as they look for that three-peat. Yep,
Blackfriars as well. It could be a long season for them. 22 goals defeat at the hands of Pulteney, but we think Pulteney will be right up there. It's hard not to analyse some of these huge defeats, mate, and there was a big one. Gazer, they've had a bit of trouble in the off-season. It's great to see the Eagles on the park, and well done. But Kilburn, well, they're almost a sexy team, Kilburn, in a way, what they've done to their club. 169-point win over the Eagles.
In their 101st year, so very great, a fantastic start for the Kilburn club.
Yep, and I say this because it's not that long ago, and this is a really important one for all the teams out there. It's not that many years ago, they were getting beaten by 60, 70 goals a game, on the verge of folding, and now they've got, I think it's 9 teams, women's teams, juniors teams, masters teams. Well done. Danny Ryan, the footy manager out there, I speak to him regularly because they're a great club with an air of excitement around them. So, no, it's exciting. Other results in Div 4, Plimpton, who look like they're going to be strong this year by 10 goals over Westminster. But my old mate Nicky Delvin's 379 of the best for Walkerville, the new club record holder at the Walkerville Cats. I can't say enough about Nicky. He's played in all grades over the year. Great family man, and it's a huge effort to hold your club's games records.
Well done to the GOAT, and all the best for the season ahead.
Beautifully done. In Division 3, our first draw of the year, mate, CBC and Seaton, 2 teams who will be right near the top of the ladder, I think.
Yeah, Darren Mead taking over the Seaton Ramblers this year and added a huge layer of professionalism, and expect them to be around the mark.
Couldn't have said it better myself, and some really good ins for Seaton. CBC, Brett Simpson running a real nice ship out there as well. But the question is, mate, and I'm going to ask you the question, can anyone get near Henley?
I wouldn't suspect so. Damon Head taking over the reins there at Henley Beach has brought a real flavour of West Adelaide to the club, and suspect them to be really around the mark when the whips are cracking.
I think I mentioned it last week. They're my one lock for a premiership this year, which is it's dangerous to say stuff like that, but with 4 Sanfordines coming into Division 3, it's just too strong a unit. And Matty Broadbent, he goes all right as well.
He does.
Yeah. You've done a wonderful Div 2 report, mate, so we'll just skim over this one. But Salisbury North beating Rocks and Goodwood beating Towns. I think they'll be 2 right near the top fighting it out.
Yeah, they certainly will. Goodwood Saints are going to be pretty hard to beat this year, and it's great to see Salisbury North get underway as well with a really solid win. Yeah, we've done this a bit to death. You PNU 9-goal last quarter over Golden Grove, but what was the energy like at Payneham Oval yesterday? Oh, it was huge. It was a nail-biter for 3 quarters. It went in ebbs and flows, massive arm wrestle. And if you'd seen the game for 3 quarters, you would never suspect that it would have been a 41-point victory to the home side, with the Falcons pretty much almost doubling their score without any unanswered prayers there from the Golden Grove Footy Club.
Yep. And the last one, we've done a Division 1 report, which was pretty extensive, but Phil Herden talks about February premiers all the time. The hype about Port District is real, isn't it? They are going to be incredibly hard to stop.
They certainly will, and they've recruited well. It's been pretty well advertised that they've done a really good job with their recruiting. I suspect that it's going to be try and reel them in if you can. And there's a massive supporter base down at the Port Districts Footy Club, unlike many other clubs.
Legends, they call themselves.
Unlike many other clubs in the league, it's a delightful situation to go down there and see so many supporters from that region.
Even something as simple as Barry Curtin running the emceeing and they welcome you in for a beer. Andrew Marks helping out with the juniors, says, good football pedigree there, and they haven't just recruited sample players, they've recruited top-end sample players, so good luck finding a way to crack that nut, if you will. That's what caught our eye this week, and there'll be stuff catching our eye every week, because Adelaide Footy League with 270 teams, it's certainly a competition to watch. And welcome back, and round one is in the books, and so is our first weekly show. We thank you all very much for watching. We can't thank our sponsors enough, and they'll appear across the screen. You are wonderful supporting us, and we wouldn't be here without you. Of course, the great players, you're the ones that give us the content, and it is great to see you out there. Again, over 270 teams had a crack on the weekend. I'm sure you all loved it. The viewers, we don't exist without you. To Filming Footy and Dartfish, I am so grateful for you and the editors and producers, so you don't have to look at my head the whole time, but you're seeing some of the great play out there across all the different divisions. And the commentators, they're doing a lot of work. They send me a lot of notes to ensure we've got fantastic insight to the teams, the clubs, and the entire league. Adelaide Footy League, it makes us all better. It's a great competition to be a part of. We thank you very much. We're back next week with more Between the Posts.